Welcome to ThinkTech on OC16, Hawaii's weekly newscast on things that matter to tech and to Hawaii. I'm Jay Fidell.
And I'm Duke Oishi.
In our show tonight, we'll cover the Asia-Pacific Center for Security Studies in Waikiki and talk with the people who make it run.
The center helps avert terrorism, enhances natural disaster relief, and orients military commanders about security in Asia-Pacific.
It's an educational organization with a world-class faculty. To find out more about what the center does, last week, Bill Sharp and I had a tour of the center and met a number of the administration, faculty, and students there.
First, we attended an early morning class in the center's auditorium with a lecture by program manager Roben Azizian.
Then we caught up with Richard Sears, Dean of Admissions, and his deputy, Stu Smith.
Well, first of all, we teach all our courses in English, so they have to have a minimum level of comprehension and to be able to speak English. And we also want people that are future leaders. They're nominated by their nation, and we rely heavily on the embassy as well to know the reputation of the individual, what positions they hold. We use our alumni associations to nominate individuals. Part of the whole reason we exist is to develop that regional security perspective, that they're not thinking about just about their own nation, but they're thinking about the region. It's a multilateral approach to, for instance, crisis. When there's a crisis, it doesn't usually happen to one nation. It happens to, a natural crisis will happen to multiple nations.
Where do the fellows live? They don't live right here. They, rent separate apartments, is it?
We contract with a condominium further into Waikiki and try and put them all in one location so that they can interact on a daily basis, so that when they leave here, the program doesn't stop at our front doors. They go back, and as Mr. Sears said previously, they break bread with each other and form relationships that we hope will be lasting for years to come. Most of our fellows come in and they're fairly high ranking military-wise, and with civilian equivalents, it's majors and above.
Majors
to general officers. There's basically six courses ranging from 1 week to 6 weeks.
Do the fellows, once they return to their home countries, do they derive some sort of promotional benefit from this? Is it, looked as a very positive factor in their career enhancement in their respective
I understand
countries?
that it is in some countries. It's like professional military education in the U.S. military.
The thing that we really do here is create a network of people that have mutual trust, mutual respect, and they share what they've learned, they share what they're doing back when they leave here and they're alumni. So everybody knows on a personal level and a professional level that they can reach out and discuss things. And when crisis happens, they have that basis so they can talk freely and
get on the
communicate and just get on the phone. And we've had that happen many times.
Then we got together with two of the professors at the center, Bill Weininger and Justin Nankivell.
I run what's called a Comprehensive Security Responses to Terrorism course, which is about 4.5 weeks long. We run it one time a year. It typically runs February to March. And that falls within the Transnational Threats program that's run by my colleague Al Ohlers. And Justin is in a different program running a different course.
So ours is the one that's unfolding right now. This one is called Advanced Security Cooperation. And it's got the same draw of people and countries as Bill's, same numbers. So we have in this iteration 34 countries, 81 people within it.
So you have students from China and Taiwan here at the same time?
We do for this iteration. We have in the deep past, and in the recent past we have tended to move them between classes, but here we have a group of 2 from each country.
This is the second time we've done it. My CSRT that happened earlier this year was the first time in recent memory we had done simultaneous Chinese-Taiwan fellows. It seems to work very well.
Do you find them breaking down walls and actually sitting down and talking to each other and
Indeed.
breaking the ice?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Indeed. Yeah, they actually do talk at length, and perhaps unsurprisingly, some of the fellows from Taiwan have deep Chinese heritage, so they can actually speak to possible family alignments and or cultural alignments as well. But I think on the private side, it's very helpful for them to be able to talk. It's also very helpful for them to be able to speak in a public forum, like the class and the auditorium within which many of the lectures unfold, so they can at least put out what their side of the story is on a particular issue.
Now, do you have any Americans in the classes?
We do. We have it's 8 Americans this time around. So we typically run about, I think the number is approximately under 10% of the course. It gives us a nice cross-section of American viewpoints. They come from different agencies and different age groups and different levels of seniority. And it gives the fellows a good balance to sort of see how the drift of American thought looks on a particular issue.
On the one hand, it would be great to have more American fellows because the opportunity for American government officials across the interagency to interact with foreign nationals in this context is, I think, invaluable. But unfortunately, if you put too many Americans in, then you'll disrupt that mix, which is optimized, as Justin said, for sort of getting people to be comfortable, relax, and share amongst themselves. I would also add that about 10% of our fellows come from outside of the Asia-Pacific region, again, to broaden that perspective.
Then we met with David Shanahan, Deputy Dean of the Center.
In our Advanced Security Cooperation Program, which is our longest serving program, we've had that since our first iteration in 1996, shortly after the initiation of the center. We have tried to bring together a very eclectic group of security professionals. They come from ministries of government that in some senses would someone might scratch their head and say, well, what's that got to do with security as is narrowly defined? But we look at it very broadly. So we'll bring in people from not only the ministries of justice or defense or the foreign ministry, but also ones associated with customs or treasury or others that have play in the broader security space. We've had folks from Bangladesh that have come in that were from the Ministry of Food. So you know, what security is defined as depends on kind of where you sit and where you come from. And so we try to expand that space of the definition of security.
I think when most people hear the word security, they tend to think of this army here, this army here. But as you say, it's a much broader and much more complex concept.
And that's one of the things that we try to, people kind of come in with a fairly perspective that is born out of their professional stovepipe. And in many times we'll have folks that'll come here, and sometimes it's the first time they've ever been professionally exposed to someone from another ministry in their own country.
Oh, yeah.
So they had to come all the way to Honolulu to meet somebody in the foreign ministry on a professional basis. All of a sudden, they have a friend over in that ministry that they can call. And instead of going all the way up through their organizational stovepipe and all the way down to get to an answer, they can call a friend and say, hey, I know that this isn't your portfolio of responsibility, but can you connect me with someone as a friend to connect on this? And so that introduction then becomes one of, I'm connecting you with one of my friends.
Then we spent some time with Jessica, an expert in disaster management and humanitarian assistance, who teaches at the center.
I have to say APCSS is a regional educational center, so we don't actually go out and help in these types of operations.
Okay.
But we do have responsibility to follow up on what's going on in the region and as much as possible be informed enough to be able to bring that into the classroom of our courses and being able to bring up to speed the learning of our fellows and in making them more aware of what's going on in the region and how these issues impact greater security and international cooperation.
Security, how do you define security?
Well, it's very broad, and the way we approach it at APCSS is that anything that affects the well-being of not only the state, but all the way to the individual. So there's a huge spectrum that we're looking at. We're looking at state security, national security, as well as the other spectrum of it, which I look at, is the human security side, which includes livelihood, development issues, not only just personal safety, but whether or not a family is able to provide, whether or not you can attain medical health care from your governments, and whether or not communities could respond and be prepared for disasters, such as in Japan.
Now, since the disaster in Japan has occurred, have you had to remodel any of your classes or seminars to incorporate that type of information?
Well, we do that constantly as part of our course because we need to stay as relevant as possible to the world's events, especially in this very dynamic region of Asia Pacific. So every time something happens in the news, the lectures in the course will be updated to include those lessons learned or observations that we're making from what's going on out there in the region. So for example, in my lecture I did on disaster management and international cooperation, the case study of Japan played a big role in demonstrating how what's happening in one country could have global effects.
Then we spoke with James Campbell, an expert in biosecurity who teaches at the center.
Bioterrorism as a type of attack isn't really effective in causing large-scale death and injury to people. It just isn't a very good weapon in that sense. It's primarily useful for instilling fear and panic and the consequent economic costs of responding to this. Although if it occurred, it would be very dangerous to the individuals who are impacted directly. It's not really a weapon that's going to kill a lot of people. Plus, it's quite frankly, it's a little difficult to grow these agents and to transport them and to disseminate them effectively. They're dangerous, they're hard to work with. So as a threat to the Asia-Pacific region, I wouldn't rank it up that high.
What's the risk of another global pandemic?
I would rate the risk of another global pandemic as inevitable, not even high, inevitable. In fact, the last one we all are familiar with is the H1N1 swine flu, which isn't gone. It's still circulating, and mostly in the southern hemisphere now because that's their winter season, but it's coming back. It will be back this winter in the north. The question is, will it be the same virus or will it have changed, which these viruses are wont to do, and be a much more virulent one? That's the big concern. H1N1, the swine flu, is very communicable. It can be transmitted very easily between people. But fortunately, in the last pandemic, it didn't kill a lot of people. But this can change. And so whether it comes back as a very lethal form or not, we do need to be prepared for it, for the eventuality that it might be lethal. What can we do? Well, in the case of the H1N1 swine flu, there's actually a vaccine, a very good one. I've had it. You should have it. Everyone should have it if they haven't already. And it's been incorporated in what they call the seasonal vaccine. Each year, the Center for Disease Control puts out a new seasonal influenza vaccine. This year's vaccine has the H1N1 strain included in it.
We enjoyed a moment with foreign fellows Zheng Yuan of China and Sangye Cheweng of Bhutan. They had become great friends.
I got off the airport. From there on, this was what you call the team building. It's not only about classroom exercise, but outside the classroom exercise where you get to know the people, each other, interact with each other, because here we are about 84 of us from 32 countries. So that was quite an added advantage for us also.
In Bhutan, are you a military officer?
No, I work for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
So you're a diplomat?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
I mean, for myself, I'm a scholar. You know, I study American foreign policy, American domestic politics. So I think it's a good idea and a good experience to come here to talk with, our American professors and also exchange ideas with some fellows from other countries. It's amazing experience for me, to my surprise. The fellows, 81 fellows from more than 30 countries. Not only fellows from just from the Asia Pacific area, but also some fellows from like Iraq, Lebanon, and also even Tanzania. So I can exchange ideas with them, and also sometimes we can give some clarification on some issues. Maybe they have some, wrong perception about China. I tell them China is changing.
You all live in the same place, right?
Yeah.
Now we know each other very well.
Yeah, and so you may have eat together, talk together,
joke together. And he has been, now, because he's from China, he has been mostly on the receiving end. Why are you doing like this? And he's busy explaining to me. We are here to learn about cooperation.
Right.
Yeah. We do have very good relations with each other.
So you spend a lot of time back in your hotel just talking to each other.
Yes,
That's a very
in the
important
bus.
part about this
And
experience, isn't
Yeah,
it?
and indeed, the APCSS also organized a lot of activities, not just in class, but other activities outside, so we can talk with each other very friendly.
Then we had a visit with Tom Patykula, Chief of Admissions of the center.
Right now we have 16 ladies in the class right now.
Oh, is that right?
Our most we've ever had in the class.
How big is the class?
81 fellows.
81 fellows, okay. But these are all in different courses, right?
No, they're all in the same course.
All in the same course.
But they're broken down into seminars. So in each seminar, we'll have representatives from North Asia, Southeast Asia, South Asia, Oceania. And you know, we also have a couple of fellows that are out of sector here. We have a fellow from Iraq. We have a guy from Lebanon.
Lebanon, really?
Yeah.
Now, okay, as was mentioned, there are 5 of these like centers. I know one in Garmisch, Germany, which was
That's
kind
the
of the
Marshall
model
Center.
for this one,
Right.
wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
And now the 3 that are in Washington, I'm not sure which ones those are.
They're the Center for Hemispheric Defense Studies. That handles South America.
Okay.
You got the Africa Center that handles Africa.
Okay.
And then you have the Near East Center that handles most of the Middle East and the Central Command area. Oahu's the perfect place, you know, to highlight how everybody from all these diverse cultures can get together and, you know, do things and be productive and, you know, work together to accomplish things. To me, it's the best place in the world to have the center here.
At the end, we were able to interview the director of the center, retired Lieutenant General Edwin P Smith.
We don't necessarily preach at them. As a matter of fact, we try not to do that at all. What we try to do is invite their attention to the toughest security problems that we know of today, and to do so in a way that invites their perspectives and their ideas about some sort of useful, collaborative way ahead towards solutions that last because they are more comprehensive. And they involve more parties, public and private, international, non-governmental, et cetera, et cetera. So what we try to introduce them to is that the lecture that generally begins each day as a focusing vehicle is only the start point. And where the real learning takes place most of the time is when they go into their facilitated small group breakout discussions that further discuss what has been introduced in the lecture from the perspectives of the 13 or 14 nations that are represented in every small group. And then beyond that, the exercises and the role play negotiations, and then the inevitable wargaming and after action reviewing that they do informally and casually at the condo at which they live is also very instructive to them, and creates at least the potential for bonding that can be very helpful in the years to come. And you know, we've got over 50, I think it's now about 5,800 graduates. And we've got an awful lot of that, a lot of those folks that continue to stay in contact with us pretty regularly, that do all kinds of hits on our very elaborate website and portals of information. And even more importantly than that, that tell us that they continue through the internet to talk to each other regularly and to ask each other for help.
That's certainly an indication of success, isn't it?
I think that's probably the most important metric of success that we have. We fulfill our mandate very well every day. We're worth every penny that the government pays to keep this place in operation.
The Asia-Pacific Center for Security Studies plays a central role in security for the Asia-Pacific region, and this puts Hawaii on the map. It's great to have this kind of expertise here in Hawaii as part of our bridge to Asia.
The center, located at Fort DeRussy in the heart of Waikiki, is an impressive place. Its director, administration, faculty, and fellows are important members of Hawaii's educational community, and it was great to have a tour of the center and to meet and see them in action.
Thanks to Mary Markovinovich, the center's public affairs officer, and to her staff, Michael Daniels and Ace Rainey, for their help in organizing this program. I really enjoyed our visit the other day to the Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies. I like the people, I certainly like the physical plant, and I like the way they operated. But tell me, you know, you were doing the interviewing, what did you think? What was your reaction to the visit?
Well, I'm impressed by the depth and the faculty there. I think they're all very, very competent, and they all have their own special areas. And they've got some really, I think, very high caliber human talent over there, which looks good for the centers, also looks good for Hawaii. Some really good people and pretty impressive fellows or students as well. So it's a very impressive organization. As you say, it's got a wonderful physical plant. Their mission is really, I think, maybe a little misunderstood. You hear something associated with the Department of Defense, you think fighting, right? But they're into anything but fighting there. They're talking about cooperation. They're talking about building relationships. They're talking about expanding communication, creating wider communication networks. This is all part of peace. This is part of security. Security is just not fighting.
Is this Joseph Nye's soft power? Is that what it is?
I think that there's a lot of that mixed in there. I think that you can see a lot of elements of soft power. You know, how do we use our assets to help relieve disasters? How do we come to the assistance of our friends when they're in need? Clearly soft power.
Yeah, building relationships on a one-by-one level and by country, and that was visible there all through the center.
Right.
And now, here's our ThinkTech calendar of events going forward.
On June 23rd, ThinkTech, the Hawaii Venture Capital Association, and Pacific New Media will present Hawaii's Big Projects, Why Are They Stuck? Reserve your seat for this program at hvca.org or thinktechhawaii.com.
On July 8th, the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum will present its annual Energy Day celebration at the Laniakea Women's Y on Richard Street. Reserve your seat for this program on hepf.org.
And now let's catch up with entrepreneurs Rei-Chung Fujihira and Hassan Scott in their efforts to start what they call a co-working business in Hawaii. Tell us today what's happened since the last time we spoke.
One last really big thing is the at the Waikiki Park Hotel, there's a new pop-up exhibition and shop, which this group called ITO is doing.
Sure, the event is ITO, and it's run by an organization called Inner Island Terminal. What they do is they kind of take the arts and the art scene in Hawaii and they try to bring it to like another level and really kind of expand or open the eyes of the community. So we're volunteering over there, trying to get into the community, learn about, you know, other kind of things that are going on.
You know, we wanted to be able to connect with, you know, that like the design community and people that are doing things that closely relate to what, you know, we're trying to do also.
It's really a really cool kind of movement going on, and we're glad to be a part of it. A big thing that we have coming up is we have our first pop-up location.
Yeah.
So we have a space for a month, and it's going to be in Kamani Street in Kakako, you know, 307 Kamani Street, Fish Cake. And we have a place where we can start playing with our ideas and seeing what works in the real world and what doesn't work. And we've been doing a lot of things to prepare that space as well this week. So, you know, next week, you'll be able to, you know, take a look at our space, and we can tell you about some of the people who are in our space and what they're doing and how they're working. All right. So, you know, by the time this airs, it will be up and running. www.jellyfishcowork.com.
And now, here's Bill Spencer, president of the Hawaii Venture Capital Association, with this week's Spensation.
We had a very interesting speech at the Economics Association this week by Richard Lim. Let's talk about that.
Well, as you know, Richard's our Director of Business Economic Development and Tourism. He took a very strong stand, which is, I think, extremely rare and extremely courageous. especially for a government official. And essentially what he said is tourism is not the economic engine it used to be, and that frankly tourism is not a growth industry. And that comment, I think, is going to set a lot of people on their ear. As you know, and we've discussed this many times before, tourism has reached a peak in Hawaii. Tourism is a mature industry. It's what we like to call an industry where the only gains that can be made are in efficiencies, making things more productive. It's not a growth industry.
No, and it's got competition from all over the world now. You know, they got our number. They can build beautiful hotels in Asia and compete with us.
That's right, and there are many other destinations that the Japanese can go to. So I think I think it's really good to have this wake-up call. It's really good to take somebody who came from Bishop Street, who talks straight to the Bishop Street gang, which has relied on tourism as the real driver of the economy. And the important thing is that Director Lim identified the fact that there are other strategic sectors, digital media being one, but as we all know, tech, that have essentially unlimited growth potential. And boy, was I happy to hear that.
And I'm happy too, Bill. This was in Neil Abercrombie's New Day message, and he's not fooling. They're not fooling. They're together on this. This has such great promise for this administration.
I agree.
We'll be right back to wrap up this week's edition of ThinkTech. But first, we want to thank our underwriters.
Thanks to the Scheidler Family Foundation. Jay Scheidler, through the Scheidler Family Foundation, supports a number of educational, cultural, and charitable organizations, including ThinkTech.
Hawaiian Electric Company, HECO and its affiliates Miko on Maui and Helco on the Big Island are deeply committed to the communities they serve.
Galen Ho. Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company which has had a large presence in and commitment to Hawaii.
Oceanit, a local tech company, is one of Hawaii's largest and most diversified science and engineering companies.
Don't forget ThinkTech. We're funded by gifts and grants from people like you. Please help us out by making a contribution on thinktechhawaii.com. It'll help us with this program and with all the other things we do to raise public awareness about tech, energy, diversification, and globalism in Hawaii. Thank you so much. Okay, Duke, that wraps up this week's edition of ThinkTech. Remember, you can watch ThinkTech on OC16 several times every week. Can't get enough of it, just like Duke. For additional times, check out OC16.tv. I'm Jay Fidell. Thanks for joining us on ThinkTech.
And I'm Duke Oishi. Aloha, everyone.